I can tell someone has insulin resistance just by looking at them. Not because of their size, but because the body gives away signs long before a blood test will. When insulin has been high for years, it starts showing up on the outside. You can see it in the skin, in the way fat is stored, in energy levels, and in how someone carries themselves. Skin tags in the armpits, a puffy face, hard belly fat. These things seem like they're not connected, but they are. They're your body trying to get your attention and tell you that something is off. The good news is that insulin resistance is reversible. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the physical signs to watch out for, what they mean, and the method I use with clients to improve their insulin sensitivity and reverse insulin resistance for good. Hi, I'm Kait, a nutritionist who helps people to balance their blood sugar and reverse insulin resistance naturally. If you've watched my video, Stop Counting Calories, Start Counting Protein, you already know that I focus on simple habits that actually work in real life. And this topic is really important because insulin resistance starts years before it shows up on a blood test, or the blood test doctors are running at least. That means you can have normal fasting glucose for a long time while the signs are already showing up on your skin, your appetite, your energy, and your body composition. Today I'm going to break down the physical signs, why they happen, and what to do next. And near the end, I'll walk you through the best lab markers to request, including fasting insulin and HOMA-IR. Insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone. It's a growth, storage, and signaling hormone as well. When it stays elevated for years, it causes structural changes in the skin, the way fat is distributed, and the way your body retains water. Think of insulin like a messenger. When it's balanced, everything works smoothly. But when insulin has been chronically high, the message becomes louder and louder until it starts affecting visible parts of the body. And this is why physical signs show up long before blood glucose changes. Blood glucose is tightly regulated. Your body will fight hard to keep it in a normal range because a high glucose level is dangerous. What your body does instead is it increases insulin production in order to compensate. So your glucose will look normal, but your insulin will be elevated. And this can happen behind the scenes for years. Now, most doctors only test fasting glucose or your HbA1c. And like I said, these markers will stay normal for a long time. That is why so many people are told that everything looks normal, that they're healthy, even though they're exhausted, hungry all the time, gaining weight around the midsection, and developing skin tags. These early signs are not random. They are warning lights on the dashboard. Your body is talking to you, and we need to learn how to read the signals. So let's get into some of the physical signs that you have insulin resistance. Like I said, these are not random. They are all linked to high insulin. Number one is skin tags around your neck and in your armpits. Skin tags are one of the earliest and most reliable signs of high insulin. And a huge misconception is that they're caused by friction. If this was true, then they wouldn't show up in areas like eyelids. When insulin is high, it tells skin cells to grow faster. Remember, insulin is a growth hormone. Over time, that overstimulation creates small, soft growths. And this is why as insulin resistance progresses, as it turns into prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, the amount of skin tags you have will increase. Not always, but there is a huge association with diabetes and skin tags. And it's for this reason. It's caused by high insulin. Now, skin tags themselves, they are not dangerous, but they are signaling your insulin is high, which is something to act on. Number two is dark patches of skin around the back of your neck. This will look like a shadowy or velvety patch of skin. It can also occur in your armpits, around your collarbone, and in the groin area. And this happens when high insulin levels affect pigment cells. The skin becomes thicker and darker in certain areas. This can happen to anyone at any size, but I often see it in adults who have had undiagnosed insulin resistance for years. And this isn't anything that you can get rid of topically. It's hormonal. The changes to improve it need to come from within. Number three is hard belly fat, sometimes referred to as a beer belly, but it doesn't always come from drinking alcohol. Not all belly fat behaves the same. Soft jiggly fat that you can pinch around your body, that's subcutaneous fat. But that hard fat that gathers around your midsection, that's called visceral fat. Visceral fat forms deep inside the abdominal cavity, and it wraps around organs. It feels firm because it's stored under the abdominal wall, not above it. This type of fat is strongly linked to high insulin because insulin tells the body to store fat around the midsection first. And this is why someone can look thin everywhere else, but have a firm, rounded stomach. Their body is storing their fat as visceral fat. And this isn't a cosmetic issue. You actually can't get rid of visceral fat with liposuction. The only way to reduce it is to improve insulin sensitivity. Now, this type of fat is more common in men, But we're seeing it more and more in women, especially after 40. This is when hormones shift and women become more insulin resistant naturally. So if they were any level of insulin resistant before menopause, it compounds. Number 4 is a puffy or inflamed looking face. High insulin levels cause the body to retain more water and sodium. Over time, the face can look swollen, puffy, or inflamed. You may notice your rings feel tighter or your cheekbones look less defined. This is a subtle sign, but once you know to look out for it, it becomes obvious. Number 4 is you have constant cravings and you never feel full. This one isn't really a physical sign, but I really wanted to throw it in here. We all know those people who are constantly hungry, who get hangry if they don't eat for a couple of hours. Unfortunately, this is a strong indicator of insulin resistance. This is because when you're insulin resistant, your body isn't able to use energy from your food efficiently. So you end up with sugar cravings after eating or hunger a few hours later. Insulin resistance also interrupts GLP-1, ghrelin, and leptin, hunger hormones. When insulin is high, these stop working correctly. So you can eat a lot of calories and still feel unsatisfied. And this is why when I work with clients who are having difficulty losing weight and they're feeling frustrated, they feel like they can't stick to anything, they feel like it's a discipline issue. It's not their discipline, it's hormonal. When we address insulin, when we work on lowering it, everything becomes easier. Number 6, again, this isn't physical, but it's an irregular menstrual cycle. For women, insulin impacts ovarian hormones. It increases androgen production, it disrupts ovulation, it worsens PMS, and it ultimately can manifest in polycystic ovarian syndrome. For 90% of women who are diagnosed with PCOS, the cause is insulin resistance. There's a misconception that PCOS causes insulin resistance, but it's the other way around. And this is why PCOS is also reversible, although a lot of women are told it's not. Address insulin resistance and your period will become more regular, your male hormones will come down, and your infertility will improve. Number 7 is hair thinning. Insulin resistance causes inflammation and nutrient shunting, meaning nutrients are diverted to blood sugar regulation instead of hair. And this leads into number 8, which is brittle nails. Nutrients are diverted away from nails, so they can become very thin and brittle. Number 9 is acne and congested skin. This is caused by a combination of things, all related to insulin. Higher male hormones for women, inflammation. This leads to acne, cystic breakouts, or chronically irritated skin. And finally, number 10 is if you snore. Again, not a physical sign, but an audible one. Blood sugar swings and high insulin can affect airway tone and sleep quality. Many people notice a snoring decrease as their insulin sensitivity improves. Now you understand the signs, let's talk about why exactly they happen, because that's going to help us to understand how we can reverse them. Insulin resistance means your cells are no longer responding well to insulin. To compensate, your pancreas produces more, so your insulin levels rise higher and higher and stay elevated longer after meals. This affects everything. High insulin tells your body to store fat rather than use it for energy. It tells skin cells to grow faster, which is why skin tags and dark patches of skin develop. It increases inflammation, which affects hair, skin, and digestion. It affects water retention. It changes the way your body handles sodium. It disrupts liver function. It shifts fat storage towards the midsection and away from healthier areas such as thighs and hips. And your hunger hormones, they become confused. Your brain starts relying on fast glucose hits because the steady background energy source is not available. You can eat a large meal and feel hungry shortly after because your cells are not receiving enough usable energy. Your body is not broken. It's adapting and compensating. The signs you see on the outside are your body trying to communicate what's happening internally. And this is the empowering part because these signs, they can all be reversed. Okay, now we know what signs to look out for. Now we know why these signs are caused by high insulin and insulin resistance. What can we do about them? Well, you might be surprised to learn that the answer to this is easier than you expect. I'm going to give you a few really easy habit changes that you can start today. And if you start doing them consistently, you're going to see improvements to your insulin resistance within weeks. The first is to increase your protein intake. Most people are eating far less protein than they think. And on top of this, the RDA for protein is far too low. You want to aim for 30 grams of protein per meal minimum. If you can get 40 or 50 grams, even better. But most people aren't even getting 30, so that's a really good starting place. Animal protein is the most bioavailable. Think eggs, beef, chicken, fish, Greek yogurt. In one of my videos from a couple of weeks ago that was focused on protein, I talked about what 30 grams of protein looks like with different foods. So I'll link that video up above if you want to check it out afterwards. Your ideal target should be roughly 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight. Yes, pound, not kilo. So if your ideal body weight is 150 pounds, you want to be aiming for 150 grams of protein every day. Like I said, the RDA is too low. It's based on the bare minimum amount of protein you need to survive, not to thrive. And not to mention, as we age, our bodies become less efficient at using protein. So we do require a little bit more. The second thing you're gonna do is reduce refined carbs. Now, you don't need to eliminate all carbs. Like I said, these are simple strategies, not a total diet overhaul. You just need to remove the ones that spike insulin the fastest. Think white bread, pasta, sugary snacks, cereal, baked goods. Swap them for whole food carbs like berries, root vegetables, or potatoes. A little bit of sourdough here and there, a little bit of rice, a little bit of pasta. That's not going to totally derail you. Just make sure that when you are eating these carb-rich foods, you're eating them with a source of protein and a source of fat. When it comes to insulin resistance, you never want to eat carbs in isolation. Step number 3 is tying step 1 and step 2 together. It's to follow my low carb, high protein plate method. Start with protein, choose a healthy fat like ghee, avocado oil, or butter to cook with, and then add your fruits and vegetables. If you find you're still hungry in between meals, up your protein. If you find you're still hungry even when you're getting enough protein, up the fat a little bit. Add some avocado, top with olive oil, add a little bit of butter on top of your steak. This method works, and it works without counting any calories at all. Those fall into place when you use this framework. Step number 4, really easy, it's to walk after meals. When you go for a walk or do any form of exercise after you eat, this allows your body to use the energy from that meal immediately. So blood sugar spikes are lower and less insulin is needed to take that blood sugar to your cells because your body's using it immediately. Because when you're exercising, your cells can actually take in glucose without insulin. And that's why exercise like walking is so beneficial for insulin resistance. Number 5 is to add in some strength training. Muscle is your insulin sponge. When you build muscle, you dramatically increase insulin sensitivity because your muscles are where most of the glucose in your body is stored. Start with 2 or 3 sessions. These don't need to be long, 30 minutes. You don't need to even go to the gym. They can be body weight sessions. Just get your muscles working. Number 6 is to manage your stress. And I know this is much easier said than done, but the truth is cortisol raises blood sugar. Now, acute stress, that's not a concern. That's normal, that's natural. What you want to be mindful of is chronic stress. So if you're waking up, if you're feeling stressed, if you're stressed all throughout the day, take a minute to breathe. Work some mindfulness, some meditation, some breath work into your day. Your insulin resistance will thank you. Number 7 is to make sure you're sleeping 7 to 9 hours every single night. And ideally, you're having the same sleep and wake time. Sleep is our body's chance to recover. If we're not getting enough sleep, if we're not getting enough quality sleep, then our body can't adequately repair from the day. And poor sleep is also directly related to insulin resistance. Even in people who are metabolically healthy, after just one night of poor sleep, they become temporarily insulin resistant the following day. So you can only imagine for someone who is already insulin resistant. Poor sleep is hurting them even more. Now let's go over the lab markers that actually matter. Because as I spoke about at the beginning of this video, most doctors, they'll test your fasting glucose and they'll test your HbA1c, but they don't test your fasting insulin. Glucose and A1C, these can be helpful, but they're only helpful after you've been insulin resistant for years. So if you want to catch insulin resistance in the early stages, you need to look at insulin. But let's actually take it back a step because there are markers on a blood panel that you probably already have that can be extremely telling when it comes to your insulin sensitivity or resistance. So if you have a recent cholesterol test, take it out now. And the numbers we're looking at might surprise you. We're going to be looking at our triglycerides and our HDL and calculating the ratio between the two. This has been scientifically proven to be a very strong indicator of your level of insulin resistance. You're going to divide your triglycerides by your HDL. A ratio under 1 is ideal. Anything over 2 signifies some level of insulin resistance. Now, one thing to note is that if you've already started making some of the changes we spoke about earlier to improve your insulin sensitivity, that these numbers, your triglycerides and your HDL, they correct very quickly. So look at your labs just before you started your journey. Now, this can be a great poor man's method to test for insulin resistance, but if you want to be certain, or if you want a full picture of where your insulin sensitivity or resistance is at, we really need to look at fasting insulin. And we can use our fasting insulin and our fasting glucose to calculate our HOMA-IR score. Basically, what this shows is how much insulin it's taking in order to keep your blood sugar where it is. So if your blood sugar level is normal but your insulin is high, this means you have some level of insulin resistance. If both are high, then you've already progressed to prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. So ask your doctor for a HOMA-IR test. And if you've had this test before, let me know what your score was in the comments down below. Now, if your doctor won't run fasting insulin or HOMA-IR, a lot are hesitant to because it often isn't covered by insurance, which is actually very silly because if you catch insulin resistance early, then you can stop it in its tracks. You can stop it before it progresses to prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, but still a lot of doctors are hesitant to run it. But if that's the case, you can head online to healthcoachkait.com/getsowell to check out SoWell Health's Weight Biology Kit. This at-home kit can test fasting insulin, it can calculate your HOMA-IR, and provide a full metabolic panel from a simple at-home sample. It's only available in the United States, but it is physician reviewed and a great alternative when access is limited, and you'll receive your full report within days. Everything we talked about today is reversible. You can change your insulin sensitivity. You can shrink visceral fat. You can regulate your hunger hormones. You can improve your skin. You can improve your energy. I've seen clients make massive progress in a short amount of time, 4 weeks, 8 weeks. Skin tags fade, dark patches lighten, hunger becomes stable, and people feel like themselves again. Your body wants to heal. It's designed to be insulin sensitive. And the habits that improve insulin sensitivity are simple, once you understand them. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure to check out my video on how to reverse insulin resistance before 2026 next. It gives you a step-by-step roadmap to yes, Zeus, you're very distracting. To apply everything that we spoke about today. And if you want to learn exactly how to eat, check out my video on how to build a low-carb, high-protein plate for insulin resistance. Both will take you to the next step on your journey.